So what we're looking at today is about digitisation. So I'm going to start with a general, what is it? And then I'm looking to have a very practical presentation. So the focus is on what health, safety, environment managers do and the problems that they face in that digitisation can help with. So that's the structure. And I can't cover everything that you do. I've only got 40 minutes. So I've chosen a few areas that we're going to focus on. But that's the structure of the presentation. So we'll start off by thinking, what is digitisation? I mean, if I can say digitisation is about information and how we store and use and manage it and how we can do this better. My particular interest is in mobile apps. Now, I can't see your hands, but if you could just raise your hand, how many people use mobile apps at home at the moment? I'm hoping everyone's got their hand up. It doesn't have, you can just put your hand up in your room if you want. And how many people use mobile apps at home, at work? So it's pretty common to use mobile apps. And that really means that you've already started the digital journey. So what is it? If we think about how many companies work at the moment, how the information comes, how we use it, you get telephone calls, you get paper messages, forms come into you, probably WhatsApp messages. So that information is all over the place. And when it's in these different areas, it's very difficult to make sense of. So we can see in particular with paper forms that you can have that not filled in properly. People didn't understand the question and the paper gets lost on the way to you. It gets dropped in a puddle. You can't read it when it gets to you. It's taken too long to get to you. So the situation has already changed. If it had something really important in it, so someone has spotted a hazard that needs to be urgently solved, and then it takes half a day for that piece of paper to get to you, it could already be too late. So there are many, many problems of having paper type systems. And this is how paperwork makes most people feel, bureaucratic mess, and they don't want to do it. So the answer is digitisation and having a different way of storing this information. So thinking what types of digitisation you can have, well, it's about how you collect that information. So it can come through mobile apps, which is what I'm going to focus on today. But there are different other systems. You might have heard of Internet of Things, where we get sensors that are attached, wearables on your watch that can tell you your temperature, noise levels, vibration levels, and collecting all that sort of information. So it's a huge subject area. And perhaps I'll come back and talk about other bits of it later. But for today, I'm going to focus on collecting information through mobile apps, whether that's on your phone or your tablet. The benefits that brings, well, we've already seen how many people are using mobile apps. So you already know how to get the app off the Google Play, off the App Store. You know how to take photos with it, how to do all the swiping in different directions and how it all works. So you're already using it. And when you come to using a mobile app at work, it means that it will be really easy. That's the benefit, that you don't have to train people in how to do it. It works wherever you are. So a mobile app, even if you don't have network coverage. So, here in Switzerland, if you go up in the mountains, we have no network. I'm sure that there's many areas in Ghana where you can go where you don't have network coverage. You can still use the mobile app. And what happens is it's stored on the device. And then when you're back with a network signal, that information will move across automatically. So it means that the app is available to use wherever you are. The mobile phone, it collects information itself. It's all built in. So it collects time, the location, and send that information automatically. You can also do things like take photos with it. This means that the information you collect is accurate. getting better information than you're getting from those pieces of paper. And what happens, the information comes into the system, and then you can have set up workflows. So it's not just sitting there doing nothing. You can make it inform people, you can set actions, you can track to make sure the actions happen, and then come into a dashboard. So you've got your analysis sitting there. So it can actually start working for you rather than just sitting there. All this means that when we have digital information, we have much better visibility of what's going on and control of the situation, which is what we're looking at for health and safety. So where's the data collected? Where's it kept? Well, if you've got paper, you're probably keeping it in a filing cabinet, rummaging away to try and find that form, the right one, going back years. If the information is digital, it could be on your hard drive, so on your phone or on your computer. That's great. It's where we all sort of started off. The problem with it being on your hard drive is, if you lose your computer or you break your computer, the coffee cup gets spilt on your computer, then you lose the data. And if your laptop's been stolen, then it's vulnerable that other people can see your company information. So data security can be a big problem with storing things on the hard drive. And it's super, super important if you're doing that to make sure that you back up the information regularly. The next step across is having a company server. So now we have a big computer within the company, and everyone has access to it, and you can share information easily through the company, which is great. Perhaps an issue with this is that the company owns the server, so it has to probably has an IT department that maintains that server, that keeps the software up to date. And so you have to ask these people every time you want something done to your health and safety software to make sure that it will happen. So it's a bit more bureaucratic. The trend at the moment is towards the cloud, which you've probably heard of. So cloud is servers that you rent. And perhaps you just rent part of a server. It can even be in a different country. And they are run by a company that is an expert in software and hardware. So they have all the data protection systems in place. They have their ISO audits, all that sort of thing. So the data is really well protected. And what happens is that when the data is stored in the cloud, it means that you can share it quite easily. So this is not just between people in your company. It can, when you go to different countries, you will still have access to it across your phone, your desktop, wherever. You'll be able to access that data in a cloud. You don't have to install it. It will be available immediately. And it has the opportunity to grow with you. So you're just renting a bit of a server. If you have, 50 people you want to put on it this year, that's fine. Next year, 100 people, you just rent a bit more of the server. It can grow, it can shrink. So it can be really flexible to meet exactly what you're looking for. As I said, the experts are maintaining your data, so it's got all the security, all the automatic backups happening. You can trust that it's going to be there when you need it. And the big one at the bottom that I put in orange, cost savings, that's really what it comes down to. That's why people have gone the direction of the cloud, is because it's cheaper. So this is a poster that's at Dublin Airport, and every time I walk past it, I smile. Which of these clouds has all my data? It's a nice way of looking at it. So that was a brief introduction to what digitisation is. It's how we store and manage data better. But what I wanted to do today was take a really practical approach. You're probably practical people, health and safety, environment managers. What do you do, and what do you need digitisation to do for you? So what do we do every day? Well, hopefully we don't have accidents every day, but certainly as health and safety managers, what we're measured on often is the number of accidents that happen. and trying to reduce that. So it's really important that we know what's going on and we know what we need to do to reduce accidents. Huge part of our job. I wanted to go back to basics and look at what accidents are so that we can look at what the software needs to do. So here's something you might have seen. An accident doesn't just happen, it's a series of events. Here we can see that there's an unsafe condition. There's a rusty connection here, the chain's rusty. These people, it should all be fenced off. They shouldn't be able to do this, but they're actually walking under where the load is moving. So there's an unsafe act happening. Now, these two things combine together and they can do one of three things. First of all, it could be that these people just keep on walking, the load is put down safely and life goes on. It could be this next one. We have the load falls and it hits the ground. It's a near miss. No one's been hurt, but it could have been. And then this last one, the load falls and it hits the people. And you can see it's a super serious accident that's happened, really horrible. So the difference between those three things, nothing happens, the near miss happens, the accident happens, it's chance. And we'll be familiar with that sort of concept as health and safety people. Now, what we want to do if we want to stop accidents happen is we need to find out about these things, all these things, the unsafe acts, the unsafe conditions, the near misses, and the accidents. The only way we can find out about them is if people report them. So this is where our digitisation comes in. It's about reporting and managing the accident. Well, the structure of the presentation is in the black here. I'm going to look at what happens with existing systems, paperwork systems, and the problems that you can face. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the solutions, the digital solutions, how digitisation can help you solve these problems. So as we've said, for accidents and incidents, probably the biggest problem is lack of reporting. If you think about those things that we had before, which one gets reported most, do you think, out of all these four things? Because everyone's on mute, aren't they? So I can't even get you to shout. You could shout in your offices. Accidents. Tell me which one. Accidents, yes. So a serious accident is going to be reported. It's something that you know has happened. Which one do you think happens the most often?
Unsafe act, the first one.
The first one. Actually, the answer is the second one. Unsafe acts cause 88% of accidents. So this is where the information is. And this is the ones that actually get reported. What we need to do is start to push it this way so more things get reported. So lack of reporting is a big issue. I must say, we probably all fall into the category that, you know, if you see something, if you have a very minor accident, you know, it's going to take you time to report. You've got to get the paperwork done. Someone might ask you more questions. It's you know, if you don't have to do it, then often people just don't, you know, and we're the people that are the health and safety people. So, you know, we're interested in doing this. If you think about many people in your company, they might be less keen to report. The easier we can make it, the more likely it is to happen. So it's easy to report with a mobile phone. You can even take photos wherever you are. A photo will describe a situation much better than having a lot of typing lots of words that are not easy to understand. You can even build systems in like feedback systems. So can you imagine, why would you report seeing a hazard if you think it just goes into this black hole and no one does anything with that information? But now imagine that your manager sends you feedback and says, thank you for letting us know about that. We'll do something about it right away. Then you start feeling better. You start feeling there's a purpose behind this. So feedback is a really important system that we can build into a digital system. Here's an example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. So we've got an accident here, the tanker's off the road, and it's been reported using a mobile app. So we have a form on the app. You can see that it's got photos built into it. It asks lots of questions. It's even, see these little eyes? I don't know if you can see them. They give you more information. So often when you fill in a form, or someone who doesn't do it very often, which hopefully is the case for an accident form, you read the question and you're not quite sure what it means. If you can click on an information button and write in the right, when you need the information, exactly the information you need, it gives you examples of what it's looking for, and it tells you how to do it better. Now that's really could be very powerful to help people who are less experienced than you are. So that's what those little eyes are. And that's the kind of thing that digitisation can bring you. So a second problem, you've had an accident and it's been reported. Now, to do something about it, we know that accidents don't just happen. They're as a result of a series of events. They have a cause behind it. If we know what the cause is, then we are much more, when we can address that, we can put in an action to stop that happening again. Then we are going to stop more accidents happening in the future than if we just address what's the result of that accident. So it's really important to find the cause of an accident. And you do that through an investigation. Now, I was an ISO certification auditor for several years. I saw thousands of these. Now, these are good companies I'm going to. They have an ISO certificate. They have a form that says we've had a problem, we've had an accident, or we've found a hazard. There's a box on it that says, what is the cause of the accident? Now, it's always got that box because ISO requires them to have that box. I can think out of those thousands of forms I've seen, I can probably count on one hand how many are actually filled in well. This is a few years ago, before everyone was into digital systems, that people just don't know how to do it. So if you can lead someone through an investigation by asking the right questions, so you can structure it in a form, then you're much more likely to get the information you need. So we've probably seen things like this before, that the sort of questions you might ask in an investigation: we've had a broken leg. Why did that happen? Because they fell from a ladder. Why did that happen? The ladder was damaged. Why did that happen? Poor maintenance. Why did that happen? Because there'd been a changeover in staff. Now, this is a good investigation where we found the cause and we know what actions we need to take to sort of be working in this kind of area to stop that and similar things happening again. That's really what the whole thing of incident reporting, incident investigation is about, is to find that. And digitisation can help us. Problem number 3, you collect all this data together. You've got a lot of information there, but it's very difficult to make sense of it. How do you know where your priorities are? How do you know what needs to be done? How do you communicate that with people? So, digital solution, we can have a dashboard. That information comes in real time into the dashboard, it updates it, and it shows graphs that will show where our trends are. So again, I have an example. This is just a small extract from a dashboard. So it's showing how we can analyze incidents to work out where those problems are. So if I go through, you can see that here, there were more incidents that happened in the workshop. They were mostly cuts and bruises of the hand. Happened due to housekeeping was the hazard. Unsafe conditions was poor housekeeping, and unsafe acts, procedures were not followed. Now, if I'm looking at this dashboard, I have a good idea of what needs to be done to make the best chance of reducing the number of incidents happening. And I can also communicate this with people. So they're on board and they also know what to do. So what we should be doing is, of course, going to the workshop, and saying, hey, look at your housekeeping, particularly, hands and bruises. So maybe storage of hand tools could be the problem, or sharp tools that are in the workshop. So it helps us really focus down on what is important. Problem number 4. I think this is perhaps the saddest one. How many times do you have an accident and you think, well, the same thing happened, I don't know, a year before, a month before, similar accidents that happen again, maybe the same area, maybe a different area of the company. But what we need to do is be able to learn and share that information. And with a digital solution, we can share information much more easily. We've already seen how a dashboard can show us where the priorities are and how we can share lessons learned from that. And also now we've got pictures of the situation. So, posters on the notice board. It's much, much more powerful if you're showing something that's happened in your company. It's really relevant to people. It will, they'll understand, they'll relate to it much better than you choosing something from, I don't know, IOSH has sent you a piece of a poster with something on that's not even related to your industry sector. So we're now starting to collect really powerful information that we can share. So really, up to now, I'm talking about accidents and near misses reporting. But we need to look at these as well, the unsafe acts and the unsafe conditions. So Heinrich triangle. I imagine you've also seen something like this. It might have different numbers on it. What we're really looking at is ratios, how many times we have different things. And it doesn't really matter what the actual numbers are, but the message is clear. We get a lot more unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, luckily, than we do accidents, minor accidents, and more of those than we do of fatalities. So it's really saying that if we look down here, we can learn a lot about what's going on in our organization. We can learn where the problems are, and we can learn what we need to do to stop these problems happening and accidents happening. So what this is often called is safety observations. So we're not talking about the if I might call it, the sort of the lagging indicators where it's already happened, like accidents. We're talking now about being proactive. We're looking at leading indicators, identifying things that we can do differently in the future to make a difference in the future. So we can report, there's two sides to it. Hazard reporting. So here you can see on the mobile app, we've made it super easy. So you see something, and what you want to try and do is get everyone in your organization involved in this. Remember, if you've got that feedback loop, so you can send back to them to say thank you for it, and maybe even start some sort of gamification on how many people are finding hazards and ideally fixing them themselves, to try and get sort of a buzz around safety. So reporting, let's see what's reported here. We've got cleaning in progress. So we've got, this floor looks really slippy. You can see it shiny up here, and it's wet down here, and people are walking on it. So, it's obviously there's going to be a slip hazard there. What we can do when we report it, we can think about, is this really the right time to be cleaning the floor? And maybe we can rearrange cleaning schedules. So we have reporting of hazards here. On the other side, this is my favorite bit. I love to think of health and safety as we're trying to do good. We need to be looking at the positive and not always looking at the negative. And here we're looking at the positive. So we can learn from jobs well done, good practice. Here we've and reward the people that are doing it well. So here we've got, do you remember before we looked at the dashboard and there was a problem in the workshop, they had bad housekeeping? Well, now they fixed that. They've put up the boards and they've got the chisels and things all beautifully stored. So now we walk past, we see that, take a photo of it and say, that's really good. job well done. And we can share that information, possibly again on the dashboard, on the notice board, and people will feel proud that they're part of that. And that's what we're trying to do. So we can use mobile apps for doing observations, hazards, and good practice. Okay, so second thing, what do you do a lot of at work? And this is not just you, but it's everyone probably that works with you that's doing inspections and audits. Now, all sorts of inspections and audits go on. I've got vehicle checks, equipment checks, harnesses, pre-work checks. Is everything in place to start work safely? Fire inspections for fire extinguishers in date, etc. All the evacuations happening, workplace inspections. And if you have a management system, checking that people are actually following it. So management system audits, all sorts of different inspections and audits going on for you and for many of the people that you work with. So here's an example of someone who's working at height. And it's this person, before he started work, that has done an inspection on his harness. So again, he takes out a mobile app. It's always there available. And he clicks the button and he's got a list of things that he needs to check. So he needs to check the certification, the stitching, etc., etc. When he goes down, he says, yes, good. There's a problem with the stitching. So he takes the pictures of the stitching and puts in the serial number of that particular harness and sends the form. Now we've got that information in the system. We can link it to which project he's working on, which person it was who did the most harness checks, who's not doing the harness checks that they should be. All that information is now there at our fingertips to start using and to start making work at height safer. Problems that we have with inspections and audits. I think this is one that you'll recognize. So we're asking that guy who was doing the work at height, he's probably not a health and safety specialist. He's just the person that we got to do the job. He probably thinks it's a real pain doing an inspection of his harness, especially if he has to go and get a piece of paper, fill it in, send it. All takes a lot of time, and he wants to get on and do the job and get it finished. And probably his supervisor even more wants him to get that job finished. So we have a lack of time. Now, if we can speed things up, if we can use a mobile app, it's with you, it's in your pocket, take it out, fill in that form super quickly, add the photos like we said, then it's a much quicker process. And then we can start building that inspection into the job. So it's no longer seen as something that's bolted on afterwards, something that you've done for the health and safety team. It's now seen as it's part of working at height, is that I do this inspection and I just do it all the time automatically. It makes sense to do it. That's what we're aiming for. Problem number 2, your work site doesn't stay the same. It changes. What you need from your inspection changes. You need to be able to change the questions. Now, when you're using a paper form, you probably, you got your Word document and you retype the question and then you save it. And the first version was version 2. So now you're on version 6. If you're doing things properly, certainly for an ISO system, you have to go and find all those versions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and remove them. So people are only using the most up-to-date version. It's a real pain to do document control and keeping it up to date and keeping it relevant so people are doing the right thing. Now, what we can do digitally is we can edit the forms, and we have document control built in so people are always using the latest version. So if you remember this form here, let's go back to here. So we check in the harness. Now imagine we go down and our harness hasn't got any, it hasn't got any D-rings in it. We want to remove this question from the form. What we can use here, this is a drag and drop type system. So it's easy to do. We've got questions down here. This is a model of what the app looks like. So we can drag the questions across and then edit the questions so that they're the right for what we want, and then we publish it, and it appears straight away in the mobile app. So everyone has the most up-to-date questions, and you can choose the question to ask the questions that are relevant for your company. So with digital systems, they usually come with a set of standard forms. You have template forms, so you kind of know the kind of thing that you want to ask, and then you can change them for how you work. That's really powerful, because only if it's relevant will people actually benefit from it. Okay, so the next thing, what do we all do? Lots of training. Let's see a show of hands again. How many people have done health and safety training here? You just have to put your hand in the air. I'm imagining it's everyone. Yeah. How many people here deliver health and safety training to other people in their company? I'm again imagining that we're nearly all, training is a huge part of health and safety, training and competence. So what are we talking about for training? I mean, there's so many different types. Toolbox talks, really helpful in the workplace, covering a usually quite a small but focused topic, very relevant for the people that you're talking to, really good interaction, chance to ask questions, and learn from each other and develop really good ways of working. So toolbox talks, really powerful. Then you get classroom training. So this is more formal. Perhaps it comes with an exam, like the first aid test. And so you can prove that you've got a certification in something. On the job training, where you've got an experienced worker helping someone who's new to the work and showing them the ropes and how to work safely. So these are all face-to-face things. Huge advantages, probably the most interesting way of learning. You can ask and answer questions at the time. You can watch people doing the job and see have they understood what it means. So really, really powerful way of learning. But it can be awkward. You might not have the skills to do the training in-house. It takes time. So we've now got electronic ways, and I'm sure we all use these. We use e-learning, we use webinars like today, YouTube. It's great. You just Google it. It'll give you a whole load of YouTube videos. You can watch them. They're quick. They're when you want it. You can watch it 10 times if you want to. You can show it to different people. So again, really powerful tools. And that has advantages as well. So both methods have advantages. And ideally, you're using a mixture of both with your training. So I don't want to talk about online training. I want to talk about what you as health and safety managers do with that information when someone gets trained. So problems that you have. You've sent people on a course. The question is, did it work? Did it get the results that you want? Now, and are they putting that into practice? Well, you can get feedback. I'm sure you got feedback forms. I know when I previously used to deliver training courses, I used to hand people feedback forms. They fill it in front of me. They hand it to me as they leave the classroom. Now, I think it takes a pretty ruthless person to say something bad about the trainer, to say something bad about the content of that training course. I mean, you can, but it's more likely that people say, oh, I enjoyed it, it was okay, sort of thing. You don't necessarily get great feedback that way. With a digital solution, we can make that feedback anonymous. And then you're more likely to get better feedback, more accurate feedback. We can ask people to score training. We can ask questions like, what would you do differently? Or what will you do differently as a result of this training? And that is a powerful question to learn from. We can also start to measure the outcome of the training. So imagine you give a course on chemical safety. Now, what are we going to see happening in the company? Well, in other areas, we're also doing inspections and audits, and we're getting hazard reports, and we're getting incidents and near misses. We can combine all that data and we can say, hopefully, when we did the training, we saw the number of hazards identified go up. So people are more aware, they're spotting things and they're doing something about it. We saw the number of incidents go down. Maybe that's a bit of a lagging thing. But then maybe after 3 or 4 months, it's gone back to normal. So maybe this is when we need to hit some refresher training, not necessarily training, but maybe stick a poster or something, a different type of format. So you can be much more targeted in what you do and when you do it. And this is all about managing safety better. Second thing, right? Imagine you are a project manager and you need to find the right person to do a job. You need that person to have the right training and skills, and you need the certificate to be in date. Now, it depends how big your company is, but you could be then wading through the filing cabinet looking for that person, and then you find that their certificate has gone out of date. If we're storing that information digitally, we're able to filter. We're able to filter on the person, on the skill, on the date of their certificate. And so we know when it's going to expire. We can keep these things up to date. We've now got that information at our fingertips. It makes us much better able to do that sort of matching exercise about, have we got the right people with the right skills doing this job? How many of you sit in meetings? What sort of meetings do you sit in? Can you unmute yourself and tell me what sort of meetings you're sitting in, safety meetings? Shout at me. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you what I sit in. Go on. What do you do, Dapo? What meetings do you sit in?
Project meetings.
Project meetings, yeah. Anyone do safety committee meetings? Safety?
I do.
Yeah, okay. Management meetings?
I do.
There's a lot of meetings to managing health and safety. Let's think what we do in those meetings. We plan what we want to achieve, think about how we're going to do that, who needs to do it. So we set some actions, we go through the actions and see if they happened, and then we see if we've actually achieved what we wanted to do. So that basically is what happens in a meeting. It's about trying to get the format for getting results, and that's also a bit like what we see with the management system. Many of you will be familiar with this, the plan, do, check, act type approach to continual improvement. And digital solutions, again, can help us with this. They can provide automation so that information flows around this loop and doesn't get stuck. That can be really important. Let's think about our meetings. Now, meetings I sit in, generally they say, oh, this is going to be a really quick meeting. It's going to be 15 minutes long. And then you start getting to the nitty gritty. You get to that action list and you say, have you done the action? No. And this one? No. And this one? No. And the actions stay on the list, and the list gets longer, and the meeting gets longer, and everyone in that room gets more bored. It's kind of really common that happens, that actions don't get done. Digitisation, again, it's offering us a solution. So we can now send notifications to the person. You've been assigned an action. You need to do this. And if they don't do it, here's another notification. It's a reminder. You need to do this next week. Your action has gone overdue. And not only did they get that information, but it's in the system, it's in the dashboard that shows the status of, this person's got 3 open actions, this person's got 20 open actions. These actions took 3 months to do. These ones only took a week to do. That information is there. So you're able to manage it much better. You're able to, if you know these actions have been done and these ones haven't, then you know which ones you need to chase. So it's really making a much better use of your time, and it's making so that you have a system that you can trust it's done. So we're sitting in that meeting. Have you done it? No. Have you done it? Yes. Hey, they've done it. Now we check it off. The action has been done and it's closed. But, and this is a definite problem, has the action that they've taken actually solved the problem? For those of you, again, that know ISO systems, you'll know that there's a verification process. So the action is done, and then you verify that it's actually solved the problem. And this is something we can do easily with a digital solution. So the person that solves the action, they then take a photo of it. Now, maybe the health and safety manager, whoever, can see that photo. They actually know that it's been done. They know that it's working. They don't have to, that they can actually be confident that that's happened. So you can trust a lot more. So digitisation is a good way to build trust. Problem number 3 for meetings. So this is a management meeting. Maybe it's even a project meeting. You go there and you've got the salespeople and the production people. And these are all seen as revenue generating people. So often in a company, these people are given priority to it. Now, there's perhaps another reason. They come with data. The salesperson's got his sales figures. The production person's got his production figures. But I often go to health and safety meetings, and the health and safety people come with, something written, on the back of an envelope, how's it going? Yeah, it's going okay. We need this. It's the law. Da, 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 da. And they haven't got the data to back that up. With a digital system, you can have a dashboard. You can share your information and clearly show the problems that your company has. You can give statistics that show how big it is, how much it's costing you, and then get the budget that you need, hopefully, but you've got a much better chance of getting it when you're talking about real data. Then you can track the progress, and what how the progress is going, and whether the problem is being solved, and you can share that with the meeting as well. So having that sort of data at your fingertips is really powerful, and it will help move health and safety up the priority order in your company. If we're looking to the future, you may be aware for ISO standards, they're really looking at integration. It's about how to work more efficiently within a company. So the ISO standards now have a standard format for health, safety, environment, quality. The clause numbers all match up. We can do something similar with digitisation. We can integrate systems, and when systems are integrated, they become much more embedded in how people work. They're much more powerful. They become part of the culture of the company. So let's think about what we looked at the beginning. We looked at having accidents. So you have a health and safety accident, you have a quality defect, an environmental spill, a security, a broken fence, maybe facilities, you've got a broken lamp. All these things have a similar process. You're reporting a problem, you're solving it, and then you're analysing it. So we can integrate all those things. We can use a similar system for all those reporting if we're digitising it. And that will be really powerful. It means that you can also build some powerful allies in your company. If you're working across different departments, trying to break down the barriers between them. In summary, we've looked at the benefits of digitisation. We've looked at how you can collect more information, store it securely, use it for generating actions, the right sort of actions, get much better transparency of what's going on in your organization. So we're getting better control within our organization. We can work more efficiently. We've got those automated workflows. We can use our time better because we're no longer chasing actions and nagging people to see if they happen or not. And then the last one I put down here, boosting engagement. It's so important. Health and safety isn't just for us, it's for everyone in the organization. But we need to take them with us. We need to provide the right tools to do the job. And those tools need to make sense. Now, if you're still using bits of paper and getting people really bored and, the bureaucracy, that picture I showed at the beginning, then you have to wonder if these are the right tools to do it, if there could be a better way. And, I'm a firm believer that digital solutions are the answer here. Edward said right at the beginning, I worked in employee engagement for health and safety executive. I've looked at best practice across large numbers of companies, and I'm convinced that this is a good way forward. So I hope that it's provoked you to think a bit about how it could possibly work in your company and whether this might be a right way to go.